everyone, in this video I am doing another gouache portrait in my mixed media sketchbook. So I wanted to talk about the colors that I'm using and the reason why I have them together, because they kind of look crazy, and there are, I believe, 5 that I'm using in this portrait. They are from a group of colors that I chose because I wanted to try out different gouache brands that I didn't already have, and I did not want to repurchase colors that I already had in my other brands. So for instance, I have 2 gouache colors in SCHMINCKE brand, and they are Helio, Turquoise, and Violet. I only have 1 Winsor & Newton gouache, and that's in Permanent Rose, and then a few other ones in Rembrandt, and a color that I didn't already have in Holbein. I think the white is Vinci, which is the only gouache that I have in that brand. So trying to choose colors that I didn't already have was the reason I ended up with the colors that I have in this palette, while still trying to balance out, a yellow, a warm and a cool red, warm and a cool blue. And I did use the Holbein black for the black in this particular palette. So I did realize that because I didn't purchase any earth colors, burnt umber or burnt sienna, or any green, which those are all of my really portrait go-to colors, which can be varied with adding different tones to those, was going to also challenge me to create believable, or at least passable, skin tones for portraits. I mean, really, you can use any color you want for skin tones. That's just my, opinion. Of course, if you're doing rendered portraits of people and you're trying to exactly copy the colors of their skin, then that's different. Which, it's still arguable that you could create those colors with these anyway. But I like to mix my colors on the paper. And when you're only using 5, I would say 3 to 5 colors, eventually they will become harmonious, especially when you're using watercolor or water media like gouache, because you can mix them and layer them on top of each other, and if you don't blend them too much and they don't turn into mud, you will get some color harmony. You take those colors and you put them in different areas throughout the painting, and voila, you have color harmony. So, I've got predominantly violet and yellow going on in this portrait, and those are complementary colors, so they're always going to get along no matter what. Mix them together too much and you're going to get a very muted purple or a very grayed yellow. Those may not be the prettiest colors for doing portraits, but they evoke a certain lighting or ambient glow that sometimes, if you notice in real life, you're hanging out outside while the sun's going down, past the point of sunset, people will start to appear, bluish or violet with a lot of gray cast, and just before the sun actually goes behind the horizon line, people's faces can take on some orangey or yellow tones. So depending on the lighting that you're in nature, or even in made-up imaginary portraits like this one, you can really get away with using whatever colors you want. And as long as you have a really dark color to make your shadows with, you're golden. I mean, I only use black at the end of this portrait to really deepen the tones of the violet But because it's this, type of water media that melts into each other, it's going to eventually incorporate that violet anyway. And so the black isn't going to be pure black since it's mixing. Now, in the background, at the end of this portrait, I used a little bit of black and just some color that was already mixed into the black, but when it's really watered down, it's just going to look dark gray anyway with that white paper showing through. So, that was my rant on color. A little bit of color theory and a little non-traditional color mixing. And I've just figured all these things out after loosening my grip on the rules or supposed rules of art and color theory. And prior to painting and, art in general, I was a cosmetologist, hairdresser. I did a lot of color correction and chemical services that involved lifting the tones of very dark hair to blonde sometimes, and you really had to know your color theory or else you were going to have a very unhappy client. You would definitely have to know how to correct orange a lot. And most people who weren't after the color red intentionally usually did not like red in their hair. So red and orange and very warm yellows were often undesired in the hair, and we had to know how to correct and complement those tones. So I kind of already went into painting and drawing with a basic knowledge of color theory. And although light and pigments are different in color theory, most of my training and most of my background is in pigment-related color theory. So before anybody, wants to argue the light spectrum theory, that's, my basis is in pigment, although I'm a little familiar with light theory, but that's a whole other subject. So yeah, I wanted to also incorporate some elements into this painting that I don't usually do, which I should do more of, little embellishments and clothing and things like that. I used to be very, very interested in fashion design, and I do make jewelry and still have an interest in design work. So I'm trying to, incorporate a little bit of that into this painting here. And some elements in the background are just some abstract paint, water, how those things react together, and whatever they do on the paper, I'm fine with. So I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. And if you are enjoying this video and like this type of content, please give me a thumbs up and let me know that you liked this video. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I will let you enjoy the rest of this video. If you have any comments about the color theory or any questions, drop it in the comments and give it a try. If you are afraid of color or think you really need to stick to the rules of color theory, then I encourage you to explore outside that box. And I hope all of you have a wonderful day.